problem one, you learn how to determine the quantity from the drawings. Given that is simple drawings, you have a chance to practice problems with more complex in the additional practice problem. And then now we move on to the other item that important to determine the cost, which is the unit cost. Before we get into explaining what components consider unit cost in problem 2, we want to go over what type of cost in an estimate. So basically for the cost, we can classify into two. The first is direct cost and the indirect cost. What constitute direct costs? The first is the material, for sure, material that you use, drywall, roofing, etc. for the project, that will be direct cost. Labor, we need people to do the work. Equipment, wastewater treatment plant process, the equipment need to be installed. Those are the direct costs for the project. Subcontract, some work will not be directly performed by the company. They hire a specialty contractor or subcontractor. Then the subcontract that contribute to that project become a direct cost of that project. Project overhead. What is project overhead? Any other expense, for example, telecommunication that pay for the project on the project site, or the people that clean up the site, that you can see not directly contribute to any specific physical products of the project, but they maintain for the project. That also uh, project overhead, and that become a direct cost for the project. So those are the five components of the direct cost. Move on to the indirect cost. We have taxes, that for sure. Office overhead. One company have an office and they have multiple projects at different areas, and that the overhead at the company is not directly performed for any specific project, but it for control overall multiple portfolio of projects for that company, and that is we call it office overhead. Give you an example: the principal, the president of the company, he or she will not manage any specific project, but go the overall manage of all the projects they have. So that will difficult to allocate the amount of his time effort for each, or her time for each of the uh, project. That become an indirect cost. Profit, for the company profit. Contingency, something that anticipate and certain that may incur the cost. So all of that is indirect cost. And for us today, we talk about the unit pricings. What are the typical uh, components that constitute a unit pricing? The first, material for the work, the labor to install or to perform the work, and the equipment. Equipment in this case, the equipment to for the construction method, for things that can be used to perform the work. Just like when you do compaction, you need a roller. When you do excavation, you need excavator. Something we talk about in lesson 2, material, equipment, labor utilization. That labor cost, it depends on many factors. First, the wage rate, and that uh, we will talk about the regulation in the second portion of this class, but wage rate it also play a role in the labor cost. If you pay wage rate higher, and then the labor cost higher, and that's why the debate about the minimum wages, etc. And then the second part is productivity. If we can manage people that can work effectively, efficiently, then it can save time, and that can reduce the labor cost. If it not productive, then we talk about productive in lesson 2 as well. Then the labor cost will increase. We are not competitive anymore. Okay, so those are the three components to do the unit pricings. And with that, we move to problem 2, just to try to explain how to the company like uh, produce IS means the building construction cost data, for example, here, that can determine the unit cost of the project. How can they do that? So that problem 2 to explain for you those components. And like I say, we have three components here: material, labor, and equipment costs. So the problem 2 is explain the line item cost development, and O3, which is the division 3, in the unit format. If you remember, that is the concrete, right? So concrete. So we have that in division 3, and I picked just one representative, and that line item in that case is 4,000. So that one here, 4,000. And explain the cost item, the line item of the cost. How can they make up this cost? And that's our purpose. So why we need to do that? Because we need to understand where that number come from, and then later on we just utilize that with the understanding. Okay, that is the way they come up with the cost. And another table is also available in here, and you can see a crew that is crew for this item 4,000 from this division. So that is the crew 14C. So at the very end of this book, we can be able to find out the crews for each work. As you can see there, crews in here. So I just copy for one is 14C. What constitute of this crew? And we will explain that in a minute. So that is want to explain the cost item that they developed, and then later on we just use it for from problem 3 in the next video. So with that, we have a few slides to explain that in here. So I copy that there. So you see the item we are looking at is that item foundation, mat foundation, and under 10 cubic yard. And as you can see, you read here, we have material $255 per unit cubic yard, labor $111 per cubic yard. So you have to be able to read that. And then equipment only 67 cents per cubic yard, dollar per cubic yard. So the total GSE just add 255 plus 111 plus 67 cents, you get 366.77 cents per cubic yard. So look at the unit, look at the number. Total including overhead and profit. O and P stand for overhead and profit. So it means this column is direct cost plus indirect cost, something we just talked a minute earlier. Then we have $455 per cubic yard. So that is the unit. And then the daily output, we will touch on that later on, is mean that how much with this crew C14C can be produced per day. So that with this team, the crew, they can produce 38.67 cubic yard per day. And then of course the labor hour needed for each unit that we have. And with that one, 14C, C14C, that equals, like I say, at the end of the book here, we can get that information, and you can see that either 14C here. What constitute that 14C? The first, we need one carpenter foreman, and this is the bare cost. Bare cost, it means the direct cost, including overhead and profit. For the labor is like fringe benefit, social security, all of that, healthcare. So all of that, it add up. So this is what the foreman receive. But this is what the company actually pay, including on other information. So as you can see, on other expense. So that you have 41.95, it comes to 65. So for example, when you graduate, someone hire you with $50,000, the company may have to spend $75,000 for one entry-level engineer job, because fringe benefit, other work. And then we have one carpenter, we have 6 foremen, and then 6 carpenters, and with the costs, and then 2 rodmen for reinforcements, do the rebar, because this is the foundation work. And then we have 4 laborer, 1 cement finisher, so the one that do the finish the work, and then 1 gas engine vibrator. So that one, as you can see, no hourly cost, just only daily. And this one here vibrator. So basically that is the equipment, not labor. So for this crew, you can be able to count how many worker they need for this crew. So it's 1 plus 6, 7, 2 rodmen, so 9, 4 laborer, 13, 1 cement finisher, 14. So this crew, C14, it means need 14 crew members in that team to do this mass foundation and produce such amount of work per day, and with this cost for per cubic yard. So we try to explain what is the number, where that number come from. Now the first one is the material, 255. So basically that the material 255 you call CMAX here. How much dollar per how much I have to pay for 1 cubic yard of concrete, ready-mix concrete? If they say that much, then that is the cost of the material. So the material is straightforward. Now the labor, where that $111 per cubic yard come from? It come from the what crews you have, and that go down to here. You see labor, so the 14 people here from carpenter foreman to cement finishers for daily, for the direct costs, bare cost, it means direct. This is per day I have to pay for this crew for direct, and of course this year including overhead and profit, which is the last item. So we add them up. If we add them up here, this number, so daily bare cost divided by the daily output, this crew go to work, they will produce 38.67 cubic yard per day, unit here, cubic yard per day, daily output. So we have on this year, all I have to pay for this crew. You see how much this crew can produce for me. Divide this, we can get $110 per cubic yard. That's why they have that number here. The bare cost for this item. Make sense? So that is the dollar I have to pay for this crew. How much this crew can produce to me? Divide, you get the unit cost. So that's where the number comes from. Similarly, for the equipment, where the 67 cents come from? It comes from the gas engine vibrator, 26 bucks per day. And then you just get 26 with that equipment produced again 38.67 divided by the output, you get 67 cents per cubic yard for the equipment. Add those three number up for the overhead and profit. For the ice meat, they use 10% overhead and profit per material. So this is direct times 10% more, then you get the material including overhead and profit. And then for the labor, of course, you can use the including overhead and profit, not 10%. It's much more for the labor because fringe, healthcare, all of that. So you have add all of this up, divide by the output again, you get $172.60 per cubic yard. So that is for the labor costs per cubic yard, including overhead, profit, fringe benefit, everything. And then the same equipment, we get this one, just like for repair, maintenance included in there, divide by the output, we have 74 cents per cubic yard. Add these three number up, 280, 50, 74 cents, 172.60, you will get the total $455 here, including overhead and profits. So with this walkthrough to explain you how a company like Asmin can determine the unit cost for one cost item. And of course, if you can have this information, you can be able to develop your own unit cost with the same methodology. So from now on, you know how they come up with the unit cost from problem 3, and then you apply for your project. We just use the number and within my that here where the cost come from.